Hi guys. So today I'd like to make a short video debunking this really ridiculous hit piece I found online. It's called 10 Easy Ways You Can Tell for Yourself the Earth Isn't Flat, and as you can see it's apparently written by some globe earther propagandist shills, and the arguments are so weak in this piece it's really really ridiculous. So I think let's start. So apparently the first argument is that somehow because, oh, look at the moon, it's round, so the Earth has also got to be round. So you see it's not even an argument, it just pretends to be an argument by suggesting that somehow moon and Earth are related in this way when obviously they're not. So the article tries you to put some analogy which it spins up above your own personal experience. I mean, you can obviously see that when you're on Earth you don't get these spherical shades, but somehow they put it into the same box. So I mean, this first point can't even be called an argument. So let's proceed. And okay, now they come with a typical ships and the horizon argument. So they are saying that, oh, look at the horizon. When you see a ship departing, it kind of looks as if it's sinking. So that must mean that it rides along the curvature of the Earth. And so of course, they try to illustrate it with this ridiculous, disproportional sketch. I mean, if you do the math, it wouldn't seem anything like that. It would more be like, okay, a ship would have to vanish like 100 kilometers or more into the distance, while in reality it vanishes already after a few kilometers. And is it really not obvious that there has not a better explanation? I mean, of course, by drawing this suggestive image with a straight line, they are suggesting that light moves in those perfect straight lines, while, obviously this is not true. I mean, in other cases they are so pretentious when it comes to relativity by explaining the rather obvious thing that light falls just as other kinds of radiation and matter. But when it comes to applying this logic to real cases like a ship in sinking apparently under the horizon, they just seem to forget those simple facts. So I mean, the obvious thing is that light, when it moves long distances, it falls as well as every kind of particle does. And so the rays emanating from this ship that has already passed a long distance, so let's say that this is the ship, then here at the horizon, then the rays already fall a bit into the ground, and so it appears as if it's sinking, as if it's vanishing behind the horizon, while only the light has moved downwards. So I guess that was also pretty easy to debunk. So let's proceed. Okay, the third thing, varying star constellations. So here they are just arguing that when you have stars, they should somehow look completely different from place to place on a flat Earth, which is obviously not the case. I mean, the simple explanation is that the stars are pretty far away. I mean, a reasonable flat Earth model kind of makes it necessary that stars are like at the most distant celestial sphere and the whole Earth is inside of it, and thus the distances on Earth are, especially in Europe or North America, are far less distant than the stars, so you won't see any difference. I mean, this is also kind of a Mott and Bailey argument where they just take a straw man, like a completely different story that has nothing to do with flat Earth at all, namely the idea that stars are somehow close to Earth. I don't know whether there's really anyone who has claimed that in such a way, but yeah, they just mix it up because they cannot really attack flat Earth theory itself. They have to find some surrogates, and then they pretend as if they have, completely disproven flat Earth theory, while in fact they've only disproven some kind of theory nobody even honestly considers, and a theory which they have only made up. And now, point 4, shadows and sticks. I mean, this one's really ridiculous. Just look at what this text says. So they say that if the world had been flat, 2 sticks in different locations would produce always the same shadow. And now, just imagine a simple thing. So just take something like a flashlight or something you've got lying around and take your pen and then, just move your pen around a bit while lighting it up with a flashlight. And you'll see that obviously the shadow is moving around. I mean, obviously the shadow is going to be opposite to the light source it gets illuminated by. So obviously it will move around. So this is another thing that is just kind of completely made up, something that nobody really considers honestly. And they just pretend that it's somehow related to flat Earth theory to discredit it. I mean, this should already show you the kind of tactics those people fall back to when they can't find real arguments. And now, point 5, seeing farther from higher. So, they are telling us that you can see higher, you can see farther if you're up on somewhere taller, and that this is somehow supposed to be related to the curvature of the Earth, which is completely ridiculous. I mean, of course, you can see much farther if you're higher up, but this is only because, well, when you're closer down to the Earth, there's always something that's in your way. So, of course, if you're in a city, you can't see past the next block, but even if you're on a field, there's always bumps in the landscape and trees and hedges, and this doesn't seem to be a lot at first, but like if you look some 100 meters or kilometers into the distance, just a small elevation of like 50 centimeters takes your view of things that are like 50 centimeters lower, but kilometers farther away if you're close to the ground, but not if you're high up, of course. So, here as well, they just mix up 2 different things. So, first, one thing that's like really obvious, you can see farther if you're further away. And the second thing that's kind of that's completely preposterous, that has no connection whatsoever. So of course, technically on a round Earth, you'd see further, but this would only apply to like if you're like a distance up in the air that's comparable to the size of the purported Earth sphere. So yeah, and the real reasons are completely different. So I mean, it's kind of obvious if you have to draw a picture that's exaggerated like this to prove your point. If you can't prove it with like realistic proportions, yeah, you might not have any point at all. Okay, so yeah, and you see, so in this first section, they had some kind of pseudo-logical arguments, but now, since those arguments aren't really convincing and can be pretty easily seen through, they just resort to arguments by authority and by impression. So you see, point 6 is the ubiquitous ride a plane argument. So they're just telling you that when you ride a plane, yeah, man, just look out the window. Doesn't it look like a sphere? And in this case, of course, if you're in a plane, you're like, how high up in the air? Like 10 kilometers? And don't they say that Earth's supposed to be like, yeah, like 40,000 kilometers in size? So, I mean, yeah, with that model, like the horizon you'd see out of a plane would be like maybe 0.1 degrees below the celestial horizon, so below a perfect straight line. And like a line that's like 0.1 degrees below a perfect horizon would still look basically like a straight line. So if people imagine it like that, it's just because they are projecting. And maybe there's also like a bullseye effect of some glasses, of some of the windows in planes, but yeah, I guess that's only secondary. So mostly it's just like because people are always told to see a globular Earth from outside the window, they just project it and try to make it see until they imagine it. And okay, so now argument 7 is just the first argument revamped with other planets, so the same refutation applies here as well. And now argument 8, the existence of time zones. Yeah, it's equally as ridiculous because if, I mean, yeah, they are just taking some other presuppositions that don't apply. So, of course, to make a globular Earth theory seem at least somewhat plausible, you have to contend that the sun would have to be ridiculously large, like, I don't know, like 100 times the Earth or something like that. And it has to be like something like 1,000,000 times as far away as, yeah, the purported diameter of the Earth as well. So you see, those numbers just have to be chosen so huge because otherwise you'd really see it. But to make it more in line with like the predictions that arise naturally from a flat Earth point of view, it doesn't really make much sense. You really have to resort to those gigantic numbers to make it work. And in a flat Earth model, it's really easy to explain. I mean, yeah, the sun is also moving around the sky, but yeah, since the sun isn't that ridiculously large as in a globular Earth model, it's still kind of close to Earth, so it can only really illuminate the part of Earth it's currently closest to, while other parts of the Earth can't even see the sun, because that's again the same phenomenon of light that's falling down after a large distance, like everything that falls down. So yeah, again, this argument is completely invalid. And okay, now point 9 is apparently the pull of gravity. So I mean, yeah, gravity is also a pretty obvious thing. Things fall down, and that's the same no matter where on Earth you are. So they are trying to prove their globular Earth theory by their globular Earth theory. So of course, if you try to make globular Earth theory plausible, you have to replace that natural obvious fact that gravity pulls things down and claim that it magically pushes everything into the direction of the center of Earth. But yeah, they try to present as if like this second fact that just has to be postulated as a replacement for a more natural flat Earth proposition, that this is somehow self-evident, although it's completely not at all so. So yeah. And and now the final argument, as always, the images from space. So yeah, probably the authors of this pamphlet noticed as well that those kinds of arguments, those pseudo scientific arguments, don't really hold up. So yeah, at last they really have to recede to a simple proof by authority, by just showing you some obviously photoshopped, some obviously mended pictures to prove their point, like from some random Instagram account. So yeah, I mean, there's nothing really to say about this last run, is there? I mean, not even the colors in this picture are real, as if like a few lights from Earth would make it so bright. I mean, already the colors are way exaggerated. So yeah, I think that kind of closes it up. So yeah, I just wanted to get this video out there because there's an awful lot of this kind of globe Earth propaganda out there, and I really wanted to refute it. So if you see other globe Earth propaganda that you want me to refute, just write me a comment and tell me about it. And yeah, let's see what I can do. So yeah, this was Perguto, also known as Flatonacci. Peace out and enjoy your day. Goodbye.